Bogdana Corporation is proud to present Let's Talk About Health with your host, Robert Anderson. He'll talk about all aspects of health, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Now here's your host, Robert Anderson.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk About Health. This is your host, Robert Anderson. I like to think about this as a comprehensive health show in which we talk about all levels of health, the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. I'd like to begin our show with a quote, and as I do so often, and that quote is, actually I think that I might have been the author of this particular quote, but it's been said in different ways, and I quote as follows, we judge reality by behavior, not words. And I like this quote because I think all too often that we fall victim to hearing certain words said by certain people, and what happens is that very often their words are not backed up by behavior. And Henry David Thoreau came out with a similar quote, and it goes something like this, and he said, and I quote, Henry David Thoreau, by the way, is the famous philosopher, the 19th century philosopher, the American philosopher. Some of you might be familiar with him from the literature that he wrote called Walden Pond, that was so filled with so many of his wise comments about life. And I think this particular quote came from Walden Pond, and that is the quote of, I cannot hear what you're saying because your actions speak so loudly. I think both quotes that we've talked about, though, are really are so important because we so frequently buy into the politician's words or someone else's words, and it's most important to look at people's behavior and how they're behaving, and also to judge ourselves by the way we behave and to place greater emphasis on our behavior rather than our words, because behavior is really the most significant way to look upon what reality is truly, how reality is truly defined. And the reason I mentioned these two quotes is because when I was a customer of Bogdana, one of the things that I did was that I observed the behavior, what was going on within my own body, and I couldn't help but notice that after I was on Bogdana for a certain length of time, I started getting very positive results. One of the things that happened to me is that poisons came out of my body, and quite a number of poisons came out of my body, and of course, being the obsessive person that I have a potential of being, when I realized that all this negativity was coming out of me, and I had, I guess, a lot of phlegm coming up, and I had a lot of other poisons that was so obvious that it was poisons. But when I realized that the Bogdana Nutritional Formulas were good for me, that the poisons were coming out and that I seemed to be getting stronger, my immune system seemed to be getting better, I really judged what was going on within me and my behavior as being the true definition of what the reality of the formula was all about. And I didn't care that so many other traditional vitamins were on the market and they were making claims, and there were so many people taking them and swearing by them. All I knew was that for years I had taken traditional vitamins and that they really hadn't worked too well. And I will say this, that at best they gave me marginal relief with the chronic immune deficiency syndrome disease that I had. But they certainly were not causing any improvement, and it didn't seem to be adequate in order to fight the battle to overcome the difficult, formidable disease that I had. However, with the Bogdana formulas, as time went on, and I think that's the key to them really, is to stick with them, because so many people want everything to happen in the here and now, and they don't give the product enough time. We have to remember that it took us many years to become as contaminated as we've become. We've been out there in this polluted environment, in this bad environment for so many years, and it's sad to say, but a baby's first breath, as I've mentioned before, is filled with carbon monoxide, has some measure of carbon monoxide within it. And we really have to be concerned about that pollution that's within us. And there was nothing that I had ever taken that caused poisons to come out of me like the Bogdana Nutritional Formulas, and that combined with the micronutrition and various other elements of science that are within the formula were probably collectively responsible for my being on the path to wellness. And of course, as I've mentioned so many times in other shows, it's not really the Bogdana formulas that that really put me on the path to wellness. It was really my body's ability to utilize the natural ingredients in the Bogdana formulas that caused me to get well. And of course, the body can perform miracles when it's given the right ingredients, but it has to have ingredients that are natural and pure and in perfect balance with each other. And of course, most importantly, too, was I think the elimination of the poisons that happened as a result of my taking that Bogdana nutritional formula. But I'm quite honored tonight, and before I had Joseph Gruber on the show with me, and he's been agreeable to coming on once again. I felt that it was incomplete last time, and I really wanted to continue, and he did me the honor of coming on once again. There is so much to talk about with the formula, and I think that tonight I'd like to discuss with Joe on the various levels of science to the formula. And so often on the show I've alluded to the Bogdana nutritional formulas as being revolutionary formulas, and I don't think there's anybody who can explain just how revolutionary they are more than Joe Gruber can. I've touched upon it, but I would certainly think it would be a great improvement to hear Joe talk about it. But first of all, I'd like to say hello to Joe. How you doing today, Joe?
Hi, Robert. Thanks for having me on the show. And there's one little thing I would like to say right up front here. You know, if we want to get scriptural about your quote, we're really judged by the fruit we bear.
Well, that really is scripture, and that was one I could have used also. You're right about that.
And you're bearing a lot of fruit in the New York area, Robert.
Well, thanks a lot, Joe.
Especially with the Bogdana formulas. It's a wonderful thing, and I think that's what you have to judge a product by, too, by the fruit it bears. And it's like you're talking about taking toxins into the body for cures. Well, that's true, but then you have to find a way to get rid of the toxin. And the body ordinarily should be able to handle that, but sometimes it needs some help. It needs to have the natural to come back to wellness, back to the state of wellness. And that's what we're all about.
Well, that certainly is important, and I guess I had talked before about having taken Keflex for pneumonia, which is what I did, and I was giving a lot of credit to it. I was always, as I've told you before, I was always a believer in nutrition, but when it really became out of hand, and the nutrition didn't seem to be working, and at that time I hadn't discovered the Bogdana nutritional formulas, but I subjected myself to taking Keflex as a last resort, and I seemed to get well, but of course from everything I've read, it seemed like the disease that I got later on down the road was a result of my taking Keflex, because what happened, according to Dr. Crook's book and other science articles that I've read, is that people aren't aware of it, but when they take a drug like Keflex, not only does it kill off the bad bacteria in one's system, but it kills off the good bacteria as well, and that good bacteria is very necessary to maintain balance. And what happened to me, probably, from my reading, from what I can conclude, is that the candida of course is very natural to the body. It's yeast, and it's beneficial to the body in a very small proportion, but the job of the good bacteria is to keep candida in check and to keep it at a particular level that's good for the body. And of course, with all my good bacteria wiped out, then the candida multiplied like crazy, and candida of course is a living organism that eliminates in the body, and naturally as it multiplies and goes throughout the body, then what happens is that the immune system gets very weak, attempting to handle all this stress, and I think at that point the viruses that are so typical of chronic immune deficiency probably raised their ugly head and became very.
Well, what you're saying basically is that the cure was worse than the disease.
In the long run, it was, yeah. temporarily I seem to get a lot of relief from the pneumonia, but in the long run, from all that I've read, and I conclude that really the accumulation of antibiotics that I've taken over my lifetime probably upset my whole system in a lot of different ways.
Well, it stays with you. It can last a lifetime if you're not eliminating it. And that's the important thing. You were talking about the miracle. It seems like a miracle occurs when you get the body back to the natural balance that it should be in. But I'll tell you, that's not really a miracle. It's a supernormal. The miracle was already created in the creation of the body itself. And that's what we have to learn to work with. And that was what the secret in this formula is, and that's why it took so long to get it to that point, to where we had it down to the smallest particle size, where we had the proper charges on each of the ingredients to bring it up to its maximum potency, to where the body would recognize it, pick it up and use it and add it into its own energy field. Now, there's a lot of tired people out there, Robert. There's an awful lot of tired people lacking the energy. They don't feel like they want to get up in the morning. They can't start their day. They don't feel like they want to go through a day's work. Some people like their work. Some people really despise the type of jobs that they're doing. There's all sorts of reasons for it. Sometimes it's because of the state of wellness that they happen to be in.
Well,
and we call this health insurance. I call the other insurance sickness insurance. And it's time we started thinking about health insurance. It's certainly a lot cheaper than sickness insurance is. And if you get involved and you have that low energy field in the body, and if you can do something to enhance that field, that's what's so wonderful about this formula. All of these things have been considered to where the body has to be fine-tuned to do what it needs to do. All of the research today is going into this field finally. You see, it is a long time coming because it's the same old thing that we've gone through for eons, is that everyone questions any new thought or any new approach, but as discovery is made, and more discovery is being made about the energy fields and how they work in the body, then it becomes an acceptable thing. But even then, there's resistance because there's certain people and certain things that happen in our society that people protect their turf. They still want to convince you that they can still play the role of God, and they can create all of these other things and events and happenings in the body. But this also extracts a side effect, and that side effect sometimes can be deadly in the long run. So the body must be at its perfect balance, or kept as close to the perfect balance as possible. And that's what we've tried to incorporate in our formulas, Robert.
Well, I think that after being years out of balance, and of course when I say years, even as a youngster, of course, my parents gave me pharmaceutical drugs, and then when I was older in my teens, I had a situation with acne where for about 2 or 3 years I was on tetracycline. And so looking back, I think I had a lot of drugs that really brought me out of balance by upsetting my intestinal flora and having a negative effect on me. At the time, I thought they were beneficial, but probably in the long run that they were very much responsible for a lot of the ailments that I had later on as an adult. But finally, I am back into balance after being on the Bogdana formulas for about a year and a half now. And
well, you're a slow one. A lot of people.
Well, I'm slow, but I had a
balance a lot quicker. But you had.
I had a very bad disease, though, and I think that I can't be used as a barometer for measurement of normalcy. And thank God that I'm back into balance right now. And speaking about energy, I feel now like I'm shot from guns. I get up every morning. I run 6 miles before I begin my workday, and I do that, by the way, at 5 o'clock every morning. And when I think now of what I'm doing and the energy level I have now compared to a year and a half ago, I really felt that my chronic immune deficiency, which my doctor said it was the worst case he had ever seen, was going to kick into something terminal, and I don't think that that was an imaginary fear.
You see, we have our policy with the Bogdana Corporation is that we make 100% money-back guarantee of satisfaction. We know that people are going to realize the value of the product. And we usually tell them that they should stay on it 6 to 8 weeks to get to start feeling the impact of the formulations. Because sometimes during the first 3-4 weeks, and sometimes as long as 6 or 8 weeks, depending on where the person is, they will detoxify. Now, we have had people, and there have been some returns of formula for a refund because they didn't want to go through the discomfort of detoxification, which is, I find, incredibly unbelievable. But it's true. Some people, they feel, well, if I'm going to have a little bit of discomfort, and usually that doesn't happen, but it does in some cases. When it does happen, they should be very, very happy about it because they know they are eliminating these toxins that are built up in the body, and they're not going to get better. They're going to get worse if you don't eliminate them.
And I don't find that I thoroughly agree with that, because I don't think that I myself started on the pathway to wellness until I got those toxins out of my body.
I remember you very well, because we have a policy of talking to anyone when they call, and I know we have many conversations, and there were times when you had some concerns about your detoxification that you were going through.
Well,
I see it was well worth it, wasn't it?
It sure was, and I cheated a little bit too, because I took more of the formula than I was supposed to take. I don't think that I had to go through the trauma of detoxification that I went through if I had just obeyed the rules on the bottle, and that is to take 1/3 of a teaspoon twice a day. I was taking something like 2 or 3 teaspoons a day because I had done some quick mathematics, and I said, well, if 1/3 of a teaspoon is beneficial to me twice a day, then imagine how 10 times as much would be beneficial to my body.
Well, that's the old rule of thumb, more is better. And sometimes that just isn't true.
Well, that's...
of course, it depends on how your body can cope with it. Some people can manage it because they're not as heavily polluted as you were with prescription drugs and that sort of thing. The important thing is to get the proper balance into the body and getting the formulas in balance. Now, we have 150 ingredients in this product, Robert, and every single one of those ingredients very, very carefully considered before it was added and made a part of the product. Now, you're not getting all these ingredients in your food supply. And, of course, we're creatures right now of habit with the fast food supplies and with the way the employment situation is here. It's not like in Latin America where they have a 2 or 3 hour siesta, where they have plenty of time to have their meal and digest it and go through the normal processes. Here, a person that eats on the run oftentimes, and they'll go and they'll take fast foods. The food is not in balance because they're maybe eating only protein, and they're not eating the other essentials. They're not getting the minerals. They're not getting the essential amino acid groups, and depending on how they eat. But with a good type of diet and with the Bogdana products, they're getting everything that's essential to wellness into their body.
And if anybody
that's why we have all the ingredients in it that we have, including all the essential minerals which are not present in the food supply anymore. When they fertilize the food supply in the fields, they'll put a fertilizer on, but they aren't even thinking about the depleted mineral that's come from the soil. And we have the same old growing fields for so many years, it's incredible. And we also feel that skincare is very, very important. And we have the combination of the skincare and we have the nutritional internal formulas because we like to work with the energy fields from inside the body as well as from outside of the body. Both areas are essential. The skin is the largest organ of the body. You know, it weighs 13 pounds. And you need to take care of it. It's your body's first barrier and defense against disease. So all of these, and the approach that we have taken, is to deal with the total person. Now, no matter what you do for a person, if their lifestyle is bad, and if they're on to taking bad diets, they're thinking all their bad thoughts, and they're continuing on with a bad lifestyle, I don't think there's anything on the face of the earth that's going to help them, because you need to get the total person into balance. Now, sometimes the things that go on inside of us, and even some of the thoughts that we have, can be from chemical imbalances that's brought on from years of the same old habits. And I mean the patterns of thinking, the patterns of eating, the patterns of exercise, the patterns of drugs that we're taking. And a lot of people, they can get the smallest little pain in their body, and they're right at a doctor's office getting a drug. Now, this is in some cases, if it means that the life support is important to have drugs, like a diabetic with their insulin, I mean, it's an essential thing you have to take. But to overdo it, and that's what's, again, more is better, and that's what's going on in our society. And if you're doing that, you need to detoxify it. If you don't, then it's going to come back to haunt you like it did for you, Robert.
Well, I agree with you on that, and also I think I'd like to tell people how they can order the product. You may call the following number, and that's 1-800-52-HEALTH. And remember that that's a money-back guarantee on your first purchase. And the thing to do really is to order enough of the Bogdana so that you know that it's really working within you, because if you order the $29 bottle, although we do have a $29 bottle that you can purchase separately, it really will take you through 1 month of detoxification, and really very often it takes a couple of months for the product to kick in and really work the way you would like it to work and get the good energy that you're looking for. But we have 3 sizes. We have a $29 size that lasts for 1 month, the $55 size that lasts for 2 months, and the $79 size that lasts for 3 months. And once again, you can call 1-800-52-HEALTH. That's 1-800-52-HEALTH. You know, Joe, I read an article about how you were mentioning before about the foods and how the soil is so poor. And I was reading an article in Science News not too long ago about how in the past the food from the soil used to be so good that it used to support the body with certain types of vibrations, and that it's been found now that actually the vibrational frequency that the food used to emanate is gone, and it doesn't really vibrate at the frequency that it used to. And of course, I guess we're getting into a whole new level of science there.
Well, you're getting into the addition of our energy field and the reason we use it too. It's to bring it to the level that it should be at, and it's not there. It's very depleted. So we have taken all of these things into consideration. You know, one thing that I noticed that you haven't mentioned in your shows, and that is that Bogdana does publish a newsletter, and that newsletter is free, and it has a lot of the science that you're talking about right now. We put in those various science articles that we get from the various journals and the new science releases and what's happening in health. We also print some of our testimonials, and we put some information in that we feel is beneficial to everyone. And if they're on our mailing list, of course, they're going to receive these newsletters. We put them out every quarter. And we've had a lot of good feedback on those newsletters, too, Robert. And I think sometimes we do have what we call a treasure chest in there, and there's also some free offers that people can take us up on. But we want them to get familiar with us and what we're doing. And if they have any questions in their mind, a lot of times the newsletter will answer it.
Well, we put those newsletters in every purchase, and they are certainly chock full of health and science news. And then that treasure chest that you were talking about before is certainly a wonderful recession buster in itself, because actually there are so many coupons that offer discounts on various products that we have, and it certainly was a wonderful way to begin using the Bogdana product. And
well, it's a way to introduce them to the product and get them started as well on the skincare. And, you know, our business is evenly split between male and female, because skincare is essential now. And it makes you look better, too. It's not only that it's going to do all of the other things, but when your general health gets better and the skin is healthier, you look better. And some of the little lines and things that you aren't ready to tolerate, they start disappearing too. So this is good for the inner health and outer beauty is our slogan, and we believe that that's exactly what happens, Robert. And most of our customers, the things that they find so incredible is they start on the internal formula, and their friends start telling them, hey, what happened to you? What have you done? You look better. You look younger. And when they start on the skincare, this is a process that seems to continue. And who knows, in the future, I think the future is going to hold some very interesting things, because they have found out that it is possible to extend cell life. And if you can extend cell life, you can certainly extend life itself. And I think that that's where the future is going.
Well, that really is interesting. And when I was a customer, when I started taking it as a customer, I took the skincare products for therapeutic reasons because I was really interested in the idea of getting energy into my body through the acupuncture points, because as a victim of chronic fatigue, I knew that I was suffering from malabsorption with the candida in me and various other indications that I had, that I was just not getting the nutrients that I needed, not to mention the fact that many of the traditional vitamins just passed right through me. And so when I became interested in the skincare products, my prime concern was getting the energy into those acupuncture points. But I must say that even though I'm over my chronic immune deficiency syndrome and I'm leading a normal life and feeling good again, that I continue on the skincare products because I do get good feelings, and also, even I'm not a vain person, but my skin is getting wonderful, and I wouldn't leave it now for anything. I stick with those skincare products.
I think everyone could do themselves a favor today, Robert, by picking up their phone and dialing 1-800-52-HEALTH and find out what we're all about. If you have some questions that you'd like to ask, this is the way to get it answered. We are always available to anyone who calls, and we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have and get you introduced to the formulas, or at least to the concepts that are involved with the formulations. There's always someone there that can talk to you, and they're always available to phone once you become a customer, too. So the support is there. And I think you could do yourself a favor by picking up your phone right now and dialing 1-800-52-HEALTH. Robert is on the other end of the line. I think he'd be very happy to talk to you, or one of his people who are there. If you want to talk to Robert himself, all you have to do is pick up 1-800-52-HEALTH, dial that, and ask to speak to him. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you.
But that marketing approach that Joe was mentioning is the one thing that intrigued me as a customer. I found that the Bogdana Corporation wasn't just out to make sales, that they were there for me. And as a customer, I frequently called up when I was having questions about the illness that I have in relation to the Bogdana formulas and the detoxification that I was going through that we mentioned before. And I never found anyone really trying to hard sell me. Everybody wanted to walk me through the problems that I had and help me out. And I would say out of every 5 times that I called, maybe once I would order product. And I remember being on with representatives in the company for quite a length of time. And Joe, I think we'll bring it to a close, but I do want to thank you and express my appreciation of the honor of having you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on.
And good health to everybody.
To obtain further information or to order the Bogdana products, call 1-800-52-HEALTH. That's 1-800-524-3258.